Hello?
Why don't you want to talk to me?
Who is this?
You tell me your name, I'll tell you mine.
I don't think so.
What's that noise?
Popcorn.
You making popcorn?
Uh-huh.
I only eat popcorn at the movies.
Well, I'm getting ready to watch a video.
Really? What?
Oh, just some scary movie.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
I don't know.
You have to have a favorite. What comes to mind?
Halloween. You know, the one with the guy in the white mask who walks around and stalks babysitters?
Yeah.
What's yours?
Guess.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Is that the one where the guy had knives for fingers?
Yeah, Freddy Krueger.
Yep. Freddy Krueger was the right answer. This is a special edition of Mahoneys House of Horrors. There's going to be no introduction for this one. This one's just for Wes Craven, who just passed recently. And Wes just left us a great collaboration of movies. At 76, he did it all. He spanned five decades, starting in the 70s, and his last directorial was in 2011 with Scream 4. So he started with The Last House on the Left, which is an exploration film. It's definitely a movie that shocked us. You know, it's one of those things that could happen, you know. Girl by herself with her friends, bunch of you know, riffraffs. There's rape, there's violence, but there's also, you know what happens when you commit heinous crimes like that, and revenge. Then Wes came with us a couple of years later with one of my favorites, The Hills Have Eyes. The Hills Have Eyes just is another shocking movie. It does have some rape scene in there, and but great cast with Dee Wallace and Susan Lanier Bramlett, Michael Berryman, who is an icon in the world of horror. Then Wes came back a couple years later with the sequel, Hills Have Eyes 2. Michael Berryman was back for that one. In between, he also had The Swamp Thing, which has become kind of a cult classic. Technically, I don't think it's really horror, but has horror elements in it. Also, early '81, he had Deadly Blessing with Sharon Stone in it. So Wes has done. So we started in the '70s with Last House on the Left, The Firework Woman, and The Hills Have Eyes, which he also wrote. Let's see. We also have TV movie called The Stranger in the House that he did. 1981 was The Deadly Blessing. 82 was Swamp Thing. 84 was Hills Have Eyes, and then of course this little thing called A Nightmare on Elm Street. You probably heard of it. I'm just guessing though. The introduction to the world of Freddy Krueger, child killer, and you know, that spawned a whole sequel of movies only Wes was involved in with New Nightmare. Then he had a TV movie called Chiller in '85. Deadly Friend, 1986, another interesting movie. Deadly Friend is about a guy who likes this girl. He's a real brainiac. Girlfriend dies. He makes her into a robot. It has a love-hate relationship with people, but I've always loved that movie. The girl was played by I have a brain fart. Christy Swanson. Christy Swanson's been in a couple of good horror movies, but let's not get off track here. Back to Wes and his directorial stuff. Then we come into he did an episode of a couple episodes in the Twilight Zone series, the 85-86 TV series. So then he comes back with Serpent and the Rainbow, which is another classic horror with Bill Pullman in it. If you haven't seen Serpent and the Rainbow, must see. I mean, it's back to his directorial stuff. We got Shocker in 1989. Another one of my favorites. I was actually just watching it the day after Wes passed away. Max, what's his name in that one? God, I'm having brain farts all over the place. Horace Pinker, played by Mitch Pileggi, also starring Peter Berg. Ironically, Heather Langenkamp plays a victim in that. I don't know if anybody knows that one, but she has a cameo as a victim. So let's see. Heather was killed by Freddy and Horace. Wow. So now that we covered the 80s, Wes Craven breaks into the 90s with he has another TV movie called Night Visions. Then People Under the Stairs, which is another great one. I love People Under the Stairs. It's the story of the crazy family that lives in the neighborhood, and everybody knows it, but everybody's afraid to say something. Then he has one episode in the shortly lived TV series Nightmare Cafe. Comes back with New Nightmare, which I love. New Nightmare. It tries to combine reality and fantasy, breaking into the real world of the real Heather Langenkamp, who played Nancy in the original, and it tries to tie them both together. That was an original idea. Then Wes breaks off a little bit and does like a comedic horror with Vampire in Brooklyn with Eddie Murphy. I love Eddie Murphy in this role. I'm not a big fan of the movie, but I love Eddie Murphy in the role. So Vampire in Brooklyn was in '95, and then he comes back with vengeance with Scream. Scream breathed new life into horror again. It's a horror movie about horror fans. And the rules of horror. I love this whole idea that Wes came up with having rules and absolutely no sex equals dead. The year after comes out with Scream 2. I think a very admirable follow-up. 1999, Wes breaks off again into a musical dramatic movie with Meryl Streep called Music of the Heart. With Cloris Leachman, Meryl Streep, Aidan Quinn, Angela Bassett. This was chock full of talent. No, I've seen it a couple times. I'm not a big fan, but I think Wes wanted to prove that he could do more than just horror. Comes back in the next generation, the next decade, with Scream 3. Decent follow-up, not as good as 2, but good. Then Wes tries again, something new again, another comedic horror with Cursed, starring Shannon Elizabeth, Jesse Eisenberg, who later did Zombieland. Good movie. I don't think it's one of his better efforts, but it's real good. Definitely a little bit something for everybody in his. Then he comes back with Red Eye, mystery thriller. That was another valiant effort by Wes. Then comes My Soul to Keep, and that's yet another decade in 2010, and I loved My Soul to Keep. Nice young cast, trying to go back to his roots. A serial killer returns to the hometown to stalk the children who share the same birthday. So, and of course, he ends it with Scream 4, which I love. Scream 4. I think it's the second best in the series. It combines the old cast and a couple new people, and he ended up signing over the rights to Scream to make the TV series that's out right now. So, he gets executive producer credit for that. Wes has also done some acting. Yes, he's not ever had any big roles, but he was in New Nightmare as himself, which was a cool role. He played in Shocker. He plays, they call him the man neighbor. I don't know what that is, but another thing, he played in all the Screams. A lot of people don't know that. In Scream 1, he played Fred the janitor. In 2, he played a doctor, uncredited. In 3, he played the man with the camera video in the studio tour, uncredited. In Scream 4, he played the coroner. A scene deleted, though. But he does get... And then he also appeared in Kevin Smith's Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back as Wes Craven again. So, it's cool that Wes delved away from the camera to get involved too. Wes was definitely a man of many decades, a man that loved to bring fear, and we're gonna miss him. Wes Craven was 76 years old, and he left us some classics. Much love to you, Wes. We'll miss you. This has been my dedication to Wes.